Ladies, I know the struggle that men are just not necessarily asking us out on dates. And for this very reason, I have been asking the question of how we in the modern day are meant to drop the hanky. This was a Victorian concept where women at balls and other lovely events where they would be dressed to perfection would drop a handkerchief near a man that they thought was quite cute, and it would spark up a conversation and potentially end in courtship and marriage and babies and happy ever afters. And yet today we find ourselves stuck on our phones, not even making eye contact, barely having conversations with new people. And a lot of us work from home now and various other things, so how are we meant to meet someone? I understand the struggle. And this is why I reached out to the men of Instagram, or the men of my Instagram anyway, and I asked them the question, how are we meant to drop the hanky? And I got some pretty good responses, and I've categorized them into 6 points. The first one, so this is all from different men, I will quote them directly, but I will not name them. So one man said to me, I think guys can be a little dense sometimes, or some worry about getting it wrong. I think she's giving me a sign, but then what if she's not and I look like a weirdo? So we women can hopefully help men to not feel like weirdos and to encourage them to shoot their shot, you know, in a very peaceful way, and to see. So, how to drop the hanky in modern day. Step 1, body language and eye contact. Honestly, this is a very tough question, says this man of Instagram. Pushing the hair behind the ear is a classic. I feel like I can generally just tell when a woman is interested, free-flowing, engaging conversation, laughing at my terrible jokes, eye contact and smiling. Okay, smiling. Consistent eye contact, that sounds a bit creepy. Consistent eye contact or a smile should signal interest, but these days a lot of men either don't or can't read signs, or they flat out are just too shy to cold approach a lady. Okay, and so the guy said a smile. Okay, so smiling is definitely a must. And a number, if in public, I suppose he means giving your number, has always worked for me. A positive and even flirty comment works better. Smiley emoji. Actually, sorry, it's a smiley emoticon because it's the dot, the colon and the, oh my gosh, what is that? The bracket, sorry. Another man. I think we humans are somehow able to deduce a lot just from someone's facial expressions, particularly the eyes. We can see emotion, intent, state of well-being. So I guess that means we communicate pretty effectively through them too. So you've heard it first here, ladies. Use those eyes, smiles. Number 2, physical proximity. A man has said, let's say you see a cute guy at a coffee shop. Figure out a way to sit close to him so you're within his field of view. Now this word proximity and positioning came up quite a lot, which I think means that we need to be proactive at being physically in spaces where men are and physically in their line of sight so that we can actually be seen and noticed. Number 3, show interest. A perhaps more obvious one would be if something, they've said something, I think they mean someone. A perhaps much more obvious one would be if someone has a common interest and a comment like, oh, I saw there's a new exhibit at insert museum here. So she's not asking me out, but she's suggesting that, yes, we should go together. And that was in capitals, that's why I shouted that. Okay, another man. It feels like a society-wide issue at the moment. And it's so easy to learn so much about each other online through texting that you can build a fantasy in your head that's wildly different from reality. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think we need to have more face-to-face interactions. And I say this as someone who works remotely, so I need to socialize more with real-life men. Okay, next one. Show interest in their football team or favorite show or favorite band or interest. Even if it's kind of forced, it's a clue for us. And then the other one, don't be afraid to talk to him first about something unrelated and non-professional, enough that he takes it to mean that you like talking to him. If he wants to pursue you, that's his chance. Nice. Number 4, consistent communication. When messages like this become frequent, "Good morning, I hope you have a good day and God continues to guide and protect you," or they check on your well-being, or in public it would be a continuous eye contact followed by a smile throughout an event, but this was before social media. Okay, I appreciate this man's dialogue in his answer. Show interest by spending time with them. They'll eventually get the message. Okay, how long is eventually though? Anyway, for me, it's the level of communication. I have plenty of female friends and we catch up, obviously, but I don't have any level of constant communication on the daily. If a girl was talking to me regularly, that to me is an indication that she might be interested. Interesting. So, consistent and constant communication, it seems. Number 5, drop hints. Drop hints is in caps. The main issue I see is not knowing when is it an appropriate time to approach a woman. When do women like being asked out? Okay, so this is a whole other video that we're going to have to do, so I will pose this to you, women of Instagram, or YouTube, wherever you're watching this from. So, drop hints, it says in capital letters with an exclamation mark. It makes me feel much more confident in asking a woman out because I know I'll be able to plan a nice date that we'll both enjoy. And then here another one. The real issue is men not taking chances because they aren't sure. If he doesn't pursue straight away, don't be afraid to invite him somewhere that isn't fully a date, but is exclusive enough in terms of attention to pique his attention. So this has been a theme, kind of like dropping hints, never asking him out on a date, but just being like, giving the opportunity that there could be a date. Seems to be something. Number 6, the last one. I can't do 6 because I am holding my phone. Give him space to be chivalrous. Give a man a purpose or a role. It can be subtle, but seeking advice and accepting help is a surefire sign to a man that you might be interested. So he also says, I would say reciprocation. So wanting to meet when the intention is obvious, when it's obvious that he's asking you on a date, and also not offering to pay half of the bill. Interesting. So on this, I would say that's something I've started doing from a safety perspective, but also because I think it's really lovely for us women to encourage chivalry, is if I'm in like a group setting, like a dinner party or an evening event, I will ask one of the gentlemen if he wouldn't mind walking me to my car. It's really nice, and I've had my female friends cut in and say, I'll walk you to your car, but I don't want them to then have to walk from my car back to the event on their own. That's the whole point. But it's been a really nice way to kind of just foster that chivalry and maybe more traditional kind of values, but I think it's really lovely. Okay. And then I had one response from a man who completely disagreed with the concept of dropping the hanky altogether. So I'm going to read it to you because I think it's very interesting. I would say I disagree with the premise here. You shouldn't, and very generally don't need to drop a hanky. If a man doesn't romantically approach a woman whom he hasn't approached before, it's because he simply isn't interested in her. Okay, it's as brutally simple as that. I think he's saying he's just not that into you. And quite right. We're meant to pursue you, not the other way round. In those cases where a fella supposedly doesn't approach a woman because he's too much of a coward to do so, and I have to say I know of no male contemporary who acts this way, then this is surely a red flag. Why would a woman be interested in him? He deserves a white feather, not a compliment. So what do you think about that? I would love to hear your comments about that, because to some degree, I understand that, and I do think a man does need to pursue. But from the conversations that I had both in real life and online, there's a lot of worries from men in terms of coming across creepy or too forward, or not knowing when they can really just ask a woman out for a coffee. So I think there's something going on in society where, yes, I think in an ideal world, a man pursues a woman, but I think that we live in a world where men might feel intimidated to do that, or they don't want to intimidate you. So I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on what you thought of these dropping the hanky tips and tricks, or if you also disagree completely and think we shouldn't need to drop the hanky and men should just be humble in their pursuit and take a no if it's a no, on the chin. And if it's a yes, maybe it will lead to something more. So thank you for being on this journey with me as I try to understand traditional love in the modern day. Okay, I'll see you all soon. God bless. Bye.